In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in black and white emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. I'm your host, Charles King. Before I introduce our guest tonight, I am going to do a Black history reflection of Harriet Tubman. She was born into bondage, but refused to remain there. Harriet Tubman, born Araminta Ross around 1822 on a plantation on Maryland's eastern shore, is one of the most extraordinary human beings to ever walk the soil of this nation. She escaped slavery in 1849, and rather than disappear into the safety of freedom, she turned around again and again. She walked back into the jaws of danger, leading at least 70 enslaved men and women and children to freedom along the Underground Railroad over the course of more than a decade. She was never caught, not once. Known as Moses to the people she liberated, Tubman was guided. She believed by the hand of God, and perhaps she was right, because no one who did what she did can be fully explained by the limits of ordinary courage. What many Americans do not fully appreciate is that Harriet Tubman was not merely a freedom conductor. She was also a military operative of the highest order. During the Civil War, she served the Union Army as a spy, scout, and nurse. In 1863, she made history by becoming the first woman in American history to lead an armed military raid when she guided Colonial Colonel James Montgomery and 150 Black Union soldiers along the Combahee River in South Carolina, an operation that liberated more than 700 enslaved people in a single night. She gathered intelligence behind Confederate lines. She organized networks of informants. She moved through enemy territory with the instincts of a battlefield strategist. Before there was a normal role for women in the U.S. military, Harriet Tubman had already written that chapter in blood, in sweat, and in victory. Beyond her military genius and her freedom of work, Tubman spent the remainder of her long life advocating for those most left behind: the poor, the sick, the elderly, the disenfranchised. She supported the women's suffrage movement. She opened her home as a refugee. She understood long before public health frameworks were invented that the liberation of a people must be holistic. Body, mind, and spirit must all be free. She was, in every sense, one of the earliest and most radical health equity advocates this nation has ever produced. Tonight, as we welcome our special guest, Dr. Elijah Nicholas, we do so in the spirit of Harriet Tubman, because Dr. Nicholas has told us himself that she is one of the three most influential people in his life and career. And when you listen to the arc of his life, the parallel is unmistakable. Like Tubman, he wore a uniform and served this nation. Like Tubman, he refused to leave people behind. Like Tubman, he moved through systems designed to exclude certain people and bent them by sheer force of will, compassion, and strategy toward justice. Like Tubman, he knows that real freedom It's not just about surviving, it is about thriving and joy. So, as now let me introduce our guests. There's a particular kind of courage that doesn't get nearly enough credit in this country. We talk about courage in battle, the courage to charge a hill, to hold the line, to stand in the face of enemy fire. And that courage is real. It is sacred. It deserves every ounce of honor we can give it. But there's another kind of courage that is just as demanding, just as dangerous, and just as worthy of our reverence. And that is the courage to stand in the full truth of who you are, to live out loud in complete authenticity, even when the systems around you were never designed to make room for you. That kind of courage, that is not for the faint of heart. Good evening to you all. I am Charles Zachary King, your host, and you're watching and listening to America in Black and White, the show where we go deep, we go real, and we go there together. Welcome to Season 4, Episode 123. Tonight, we're talking about service. We're talking about sacrifice. We're talking about what happens after the uniform comes off and the fight for justice and dignity begins in a whole new theater of operation. And we're talking most powerfully about joy, not as a luxury, not as a reward, but as a radical, revolutionary healing act of resistance. Now, I need you to understand something before I bring tonight's guest in. As a Black man in America, the act of serving this country in uniform carries a weight that is uniquely complex. You put on that uniform knowing the history, knowing that Black soldiers fought in every single war this nation has ever waged, and came home to Jim Crow, to redlining, to discrimination at the very VA hospitals built to serve them. You serve a nation still working, still struggling to fulfill the promises written in its founding documents. And yet you serve because you believe in the possibilities of this nation, even when this nation has not yet fully believed in you. That is not weakness. That is one of the most profound acts of faith in the American idea that I can name. My guest tonight embodies all of that and so much more. He is a retired United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel with nearly 25 years of distinguished military service. He is a nonprofit executive, a doctor, an author, a keynote speaker, a media personality, and one of the most fearless advocates for health, equity, and human dignity working in America today. As the founder and CEO of the Global Trans Equity Project, he stands at the intersection of policy, public health, identity, and justice, and he does not flinch. He is the host of the Telly Award-winning talk show Focal Point with Dr. Elijah Nicholas, a two-time Telly Award winner, because excellence tends to repeat itself. And he is the author of a book that I believe everyone in our audience needs to read, Joy, A Journey to Choosing, Creating, and Living in Joy, a book that is less a self-help guide and more of a manifesto for what it truly means to live a liberated life. He has been featured on ABC, NBC, CBS, and Pix 11. He has influenced thought leadership at Amazon, AARP, the Department of Veterans Affairs, Lambda Legal, Georgetown's Laws O'Neill Institute, and Emory University. He holds a certificate from Harvard Divinity School. He is an ordained pastor. He is an actor. He is a community builder operating in 15 states across the nation. He is a community leader, award recipient honored by Georgia State Representative Park Cannon. And he has been recognized by the Gay and Lesbian Medical Association with their Achievement and Advocacy Award. In short, he is a force, and tonight he is ours. America in Black and White, pull up a seat, turn up the volume, and get ready because this conversation is about to change how you think about service, identity, courage, and joy. It is my absolute honor and privilege to welcome to the show Dr. Elijah Nicholas.
Hello.
Hey, welcome to the show, sir. Can you hear me?
Thank you for. Uh-oh. I can hear you okay.
Okay. Now, okay, your internet was spotty. Now you're in clear all the way.
Okay, let me see if turning my Wi-Fi on might help a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're trying to get Dr. Nicholas. He's back, and there we go. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Okay. So, yeah. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I have a little bit of a delay on my side. Is it delay on your side?
Well, no, actually, I guess that's just coming from your side, but we can hear you now. Um, is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we get into the show?
I just want to make sure you can hear me okay. I've got a little bit of delay on my end, so I guess I'll have to let it pause before I respond.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. I am Dr. Elijah Nicholas. I was listening to you talk about Tubman and then reading my bio, and I'm, sometimes when we're moving and, and we take time to listen to the and heartwarming. So thank you for that generous introduction.
Oh no, not a problem at all. And I'm glad that you're here, and I'm ready to get into this wonderful conversation because it's one that I think, as I said in the intro, is going to help a lot of people to understand an enormous amount of things about life, especially. So I want to thank you as well as I want to thank the people that are watching and those that have been here and are always here with us. I want to thank you all for joining us as we get into this. Dr. Nicholas, what I like to start with first is I like to, have you have the audience get the opportunity to learn more about you before we get into all these wonderful things that you do. So I call this like your life story, your journey. And so, if you could take us all the way back, where did you grow up, and what was the world you came up in like, and what did home feel like?
Hmm. So I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. At that time, um, Milwaukee was actually still pretty segregated when I was born. I grew up on the north side, and my mother raised my brother and I pretty much with my aunt and uncle and my three cousins. We were a family unit, and when I went to school, when I think about the context of the time, were the only two black kids in our school, in most of the schools that we attended. And so we grew up being the first uh, in a lot of schools and sports activities. And our was again my aunt, uncle, my grandmother, and church. We spent a lot of time in church, vacation Bible school, and all of those things. And so, what home felt like to me is, playing in the backyard with my cousins and my uncle. From very young, 3 years old, I remember playing with the basketball. My uncle taught me to play basketball, and that was our community. Everybody in the neighborhood would come over to our house, my aunt and uncle's home, which was our home as well, and play basketball. And that's what we did pretty much every day in the summertime.
Mm. So tell us about the family that shaped you. What values did your mother and grandfather pour into you from the very beginning?
I'm gonna ask if you repeat that because for some reason it's a little choppy.
So tell us about the family that shaped you. What values did your mother and grandfather pour into you from the very beginning? Did you hear me? Dr. Nicholas. Ladies and gentlemen, let me see if I can get this fixed. Can you guys please give us a second?
Okay, I'm gonna try. I hope three times is a charm.
Okay. So again, I was that question was, can you tell us about the family that shaped you? What values did your mother and grandfather pour into you from the very beginning?
Oh, my my mother, the thing that I still remember even as an adult, is my mother always taught me to be kind and to always say thank you, regardless of how people treated us. Because as I'm not sure it went through, but I was my brother and I were often the only black kids in a class. So we experienced a lot of racism, and so when I grew up, people were still the kids were calling us niggers, and the kids were using those derogatory terms, and so even in that, my mother instilled in us to always be kind, to always say thank you, to be compassionate, to love one another, to love family, hold family close, and when we talk about family, community is family as well.
So when you were young, what did you dream about becoming? Did military service feel like a calling early on, or did that path find you in a different way?
Oh, military service absolutely was not a calling. Well, it in hindsight, I'm certain that it was a calling in that it was a part of my life. And this connection is much better. I don't know what the difference is. I switched phones altogether, so this is great. So thank you for your patience. The military came about for me because I didn't have other options at the time. When I was growing up, my mother gave us three options when it was time to leave high school. They were get a job. At that time, minimum wage was $3.65 an hour. Um, go to school, and I didn't have a scholarship like my other friends did. Many of my friends, I was an average basketball player, right? And I was an average student. I was a C student, so I didn't have a scholarship. And so our third option was to get out. So go to school, get a job, or get out. And at those times, to me, I could see that that was not a long term, sustainable pathway for me. And one of my friends was a second lieutenant. God rest her soul, Marcy. She was a second lieutenant in the military, in the army, and she said, "Hey, maybe you want to think about joining the army because they'll pay for your college. They'll help you pay to school, go to school, and you get to travel." And when she said travel, that lit my mind up in my heart because I knew at a very young age that I wanted to travel, and so that was the pathway, the journey that I took.
So, talk to us about your educational journey. You hold a
Yes,
DBA, an MBA, and a MAET, and an MSOL, plus a certificate from Harvard Divinity School. What
yes.
drove that hunger for knowledge, and how did your upbringing shape that pursuit?
Well, let me say this. In hindsight, I will say that drive came a lot from being an overachiever. And through therapy, what I have realized, my journey was I was an overachiever in every aspect of my life. One, because that was the standard in our home. That was mama's standard, right? Even me being a C student was not the standard and was not acceptable. And so because I was an overachiever, because I was not seen, I didn't feel seen, I didn't feel heard. And so for me, my education path was more of a pushback where like you can't tell me I can't do this. This is going like make you look at me. And so that was the path, especially like with the military, because at that time, I served under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and so it was as a black person, you have to be like 10 steps ahead, 100 steps ahead all the time. And so it wasn't enough for me to go into a meeting with a bachelor's degree. At least I didn't feel like it was enough. And I know it wasn't enough because even with my doctorate degrees, I still had challenges navigating the military. And at the same time, the military, one thing that I give the military kudos, and oh, by the way, I enjoyed serving the military, and it was has been very beneficial for me. But one thing the military did was provide pathways to education, and so that is really the military paid for pretty much all of my degrees. And I used the GI Bill to go to college, and so in that I was an overachiever. The military kind of supported that being an overachiever, and so I just I took advantage of that, and it has really paid off.
So every life has a pivotal turning point, a moment where everything shifts. What was yours? And was there a single moment that changed the entire direction of Dr. Elijah Nicholas?
I have had several pivotal moments in my life. Several. I would say I feel like my life has been several lifetimes, and I say that because when I was in the military, well, growing up again, I didn't feel seen, I didn't feel heard, and so there was always this yearning to be seen and to be heard. I can remember as a kid when I was growing up, I used to want to pray, and I never got called on to pray. When you have Thanksgiving dinner and everybody's around the table, and so I was always like, "What? How come they never called on me to pray?" And so I didn't understand that there was another like, "Hey, look at me, I'm here." And so throughout my life, I spent a lot of time yearning for that attention. And so I believe that the first turning point for me, the first pivotal point, if you will, was when I was 17 and joined the military. When I left for basic training, that was the first time that, obviously as a teenager, I was away from my family for months. And I was like, oh my God, this is life. And it was real life. And it was life in the Army. And I grew up like really quickly. And I also had like a lot of successes because I was a very good leader. I was a natural leader. I am the, in leadership, they talk about some leaders are born, some leaders are created. I am a natural born leader from the time I can remember. And so, but those leadership skills were not, nurtured when I went to the military. So it was both. I had a lot of pros and cons. So, serving in the military was one pivoting point for me. And then when it was time for me to retire from the military, that was another pivotal point because I experienced a lot of racism, a lot of misogyny, a lot of like just all the things that was going on. I was nearing my retirement at the time that the "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" policy was being revealed, and so I had a commander at the time that I felt like she had it in for me, and so much so that it forced me into it didn't force me into retirement. What it did was it really pushed me and propelled me into my destiny. But at the time, it felt like I was being forced out of the military, um, and that was actually the best thing that could happen for me at that time.
Dr. Nicholas, you kind of like went to like robotics. I understood and I heard some of the things like an undertone, but you kind of like went to robotics. Can you like let me hear you say something and see if you cleared that up?
Oh yeah, I got a lot of static on my side now when you talk.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Let's see if I is that better?
No, it's still kind of like the same, but I just wanted to do a follow up to that last answer because I know exactly what you're talking about when you mentioned how "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" when it was implemented into the service, because I was actually in the Navy at that time. And so I understand exactly what you're talking about, because that was like a crazy time. And with that, it was kind of like in a I don't even know how to even explain this, but when you said you thought that somebody had it out for you, honestly, I would see in different departments where it looked like, there were people that were like just targeted, that they were like just messing with, you know and so, but I know that from people that were probably discharged under that act, I don't think that the commands actually did it, because I was on the East Coast, so everything was probably done via Sixth Fleet. But I do remember those times when they was doing all that craziness, because I was so glad that they finally got rid of that, but it took a long time before they did.
And let me, if you'll be patient with me, let me just log out and log back in because it's still very staticky when I hear you.
Okay. Okay. God.
Oh wow, it's still very staticky on my side.
Uh, Well, look, I guess we could try this for a few more minutes. If it's still up like that, we're probably gonna have to try to do this another time, probably.
Yeah, I would much rather try it another time. Maybe we can pre-record it because I really want to give you the best responses that I can.
Right, and yeah, just hold on a second here and let me just end the stream. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna end the stream. We got some technical difficulties, but we'll actually redo this show and we will definitely bring it back. I apologize for this, but we will work on this and we'll do this at another time. I'll let you guys know when that's going